That's a good one, isn't it? That's a good one. He did a great job. I'm proud of you. Good evening. Thank you very much. This crowd, years ago we used to do this in our gymnasium. It wasn't the arena we have now, and we would have about 400 or 500 people. And I remember calling John Lecklider. I said, John, we're thinking about taking this downtown, possibly the JW Marriott. And it's going to be all these people. And he was in a hurry, you know, he's CEO of Lilly and all. He said, Dan, quantity has a quality all its own. Let's do it. And look what we've turned into here. Isn't this amazing? Hey, I've got some challenging news for you, and I have some really good news for you. I wrote a 5.5-page speech. It's really good. That's the challenging news. The good news, I'm doing it all from memory, and my memory's going to hell. So we're going to have a little shorter presentation here so we can have a band and dance. I do, on behalf of Toby McClamrock and our board, wonderful board, Dr. Britt, Dr. Tran, and our deans and faculty staff. On their behalf, our student body president, undergraduate Peter Wanning, I call him the mayor of Marian. He's pretty good. I don't think you're taking over any day soon, but you're good. We have Clayton Cole. He's the president of the medical school student body. And on behalf of all those people who lead at Marian every day, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you for, a lot of you came because you think so much of Victor Smith, right? And Tag and Marta Bird. And we think a lot of Denise Fieser. She came up through Marian, had a great big job across the country with USA funds, and is just a tremendous leader. So we are very thankful. I know I speak for the Denny Sponzel and Keith and Lorraine Brown. They chaired this thing, but that committee, we've got this thing down to a machine, and so many dedicated people worked hard. Of course, you've got John Fink and Katie Smith and all these folks. And what about the JW Marriott? Don't they run an operation here? That's really great. We've had a lot of good political leadership for Marian University. You know, something that's happened at our place, our mission's so compelling. We have a lot of political leaders, corporate leaders, alumni, friends. And this last year, we've had tremendous support. Dr. Vop Osley, yes, is he over? He gave a commencement speech at Marian. It was awesome. We were going to give him a doctorate anyway, but after his speech, I gave him all A's, and we gave him his doctoral degree. Yes, and Vanessa Summers is our state rep. She's done a great job for us getting the LaRue Carter situation and helping us do the work in the neighborhood. But it's really been quite an experience for us, so we thank you. We thank you for our main sponsors. You'll notice the healthcare sponsors, corporate sponsors, individual donors, Layton School of Nursing. We have partners who so value what our faculty, staff, and students do and the talent we bring to the fore. They make generous investments. Without them, you know, this thing doesn't go. We really appreciate it. There's one gift I want to talk about tonight. It's kind of interesting. Some of you that have been around a while remember Rock Island Refinery. They sold the Marathon, if I remember right. Well, that's the Winkler family. The Winkler family supported Marian for, I think it was 60 years. You know, Elmer was on the board back when we first put lay people on the board, and they've always donated. A lot of you knew Norma Winkler, wonderful woman, passed on after a long life. Well, Michael Winkler, and he flew all over from California to be with us here tonight. And he came to town with a really nice, not a surprise, because as you know, we've been in Michael's head a little while about this. But just recently, Michael, God love you, made a magnanimous contribution, a $1.5 million gift to endow an engineering chair and another great big cash gift for our Center for Human Flourishing. And he just came to town. Michael, you're a great alum. You're continuing your family's legacy. Thank you very much. There's something else going on here that I'm particularly, I'll get to my point, and my point will be quick, you'll see. It's very unusual to have a president have a big fundraiser and have 3 other presidents join him. And I think I'll start here. Brennan Randolph and his daughter Madison's with him too. They all thought you had a young wife, but obviously she looks like your wife, doesn't look like you, so you're lucky there. But anyway, you're lucky, Madison, he's not. St. Mary of the Woods College President Brennan's not been in the saddle that long. We've developed great friendship. We have articulation agreements already to the med school and engineering. We're doing a lot of interesting things. A great new president. I want to welcome you and thank you for being here. St. Mary of the Woods College. The next president's here. We've been mission aligned collaborators for a long time. President Peter Kilpatrick's Catholic University of America. And of course, Vic Smith's been real involved in their family, Kathleen and Van Smith and Margaret, tremendous leaders. But Catholic University of America, they're a great R1 institution doing great research in medicine, and we're looking at partnerships, and they have a law school in D.C. So a lot of neat things happen, even at Marian, but now we're reaching out in these really powerful partnerships. And then a friend of mine, when we've been friends with Martin Jeske, we've been deep friends with Mitch Daniels, and about 2 years ago, Mitch says, you've got to meet this guy named Mung Chang. I said, well, let's get together. And we've been working a year together, and we have a pretty deep relationship already. His wife teaches in the med school, or did. She's so busy now being the first lady at Purdue, I guess. Not as much, but we had a great respect. I don't know if you all know this, but about 5,000 applicants come in every year for our medical school, but we only have 162 seats. And you're all pretty good at math, that's a problem. The last 2 years, the #1 school in the country, and we get kids from all over, with 21 and 22 students are admitted the last 2 years from Purdue University, our #1 feeders. Thank you, Monk. I don't know if a boiler up and a night can work together, but we're finding out. Hey, there's one other great thing I want to tell you about. Purdue Polytech. Some time ago, we looked at different communities. Raphael mentioned it. In our very city and state, there's communities of young people that aren't going to college like the majority community. This isn't good. It's not good for the students. It's not good for our state. It's not good for the businesses. It's not good for the professions. And we can't have it. So we started taking students from various communities that had connections with schools, and we deputized them as mentors. And then they're assigned to go into the school and mentor. One of our biggest places is Purdue Polytech. Matter of fact, it's going so well, they're going to add people and add schools next year. And what's beautiful about it, our Latino population at Marian has gone from 7% to 22% and 24%, and they're pretty good leaders, and they're wonderful to have in the community, but it's about connections, folks. If we want our society to work, you have to go meet people, get them to know you, bring them onto your campus, make them feel welcome, show them the path to success, have dedicated faculty, and follow through. And you know what's even more exciting? Some of these very communities we worry about, African American students or Latino students, they're going to college but not graduating. Last year alone, we advanced the retention rates of those students by 11% in 1 year through these mentors and mentee arrangements. It's a wonderful program. It's going on right here in your city, and it is a success. And we do that with parochial schools, public schools, charter schools, Polytech. I want to make a special announcement tonight. Tag and Marta Burge, we've got to know them the last 3 or 4 years. We showed them this idea, and I thought they were going to jump out of their chair. They said, that's what we need to do. And we got Rebecca Gabaki, she's on our board, put the strategic plan together with our folks. And I hope I don't embarrass them, but Tag and Marta just recently, in the last couple of weeks, made $1 million commitment to this leadership program for Latino students. Isn't that awesome? So, I'm going to bring this home with a little discussion about what we're doing, what makes it work, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the big, small word of why. But before I do, you know what's very interesting? Today I get this beautiful email from the Wood College of Medicine. The Wood College of Medicine, 2 weeks ago today, got final accreditation to do graduate medical education, residencies in our state to keep doctors here. Now we're into graduate medical education. That's all, yeah, all right. You know, I love seeing med students at this meeting because every night when you go through the library and the med school, what are the med students doing? Studying. They eat a lot of macaroni and noodles. And we get donors to fund med. This is the best meal they'll have till Thanksgiving, and they're going to dance. So let's hear it for the med students. But I got this email today, and I started to read it, and I just couldn't believe it. There is now a Wood College of Medicine, Marian University, Wood College of Medicine, medical journal being published by Marian University. Who would have thunk it, right? 20 years ago, and we think it's one of the unique medical school journals in the country because the students are the leaders and the faculty and researchers are walking beside them. And I read a number of the articles. I should have been preparing my speech, so I memorized it better. But anyway, I couldn't get over with the production that's coming and the other universities we're partnering with and the work we're doing. I'm telling you, what's happening at Marian, our growth, how do we do it? We have 5,000 students. I'll tell you another little fact. I was down in Kentucky watching my grandson run. He's here, by the way. He was state champion down there. So let's hear it for Joe. Sorry, that's not in the script either. I didn't write that in. I just had that happens to grandpas. But I'm down there, and Marian University rugby team is playing against Kentucky. We beat them. That's pretty good. They got like 30,000 students. It's fun to go to someone's place and beat them. And then we came home, and we had IU's rugby team over to play down at Coons Stadium, you know. And they got this Cuban guy funds them, and they have real fancy stuff. And our ragtag team comes out. Hey, we won by a lot. It was really good. Then 2 weeks later, we go up to Marian North. You guys know it as Notre Dame. Last second, bingo, we win. Now, how does a school of 5,000 beat the Domers and the Hoosiers and whatever? They're Wildcats. We did them all. Everybody wants to know, how do you do this stuff? And I'm going to tell you how we do it. And I'm not bragging. It's a board. There's a lot of people involved. We have a deep, deep why behind Marian. I'll show you an interesting, will I? Norman Rockwell. I want to show, look at those paintings. I think in pictures. But the story behind this is striking. Some of y'all know, if you've heard me speak before, and my colleagues, they get tired of it, I read and listen to speeches, and then I study the context behind them. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, at the start of World War II, when his fireside chat, he knew the public was leery and scared of this war, rightfully so. And his speechwriters gave him a speech about the cannons and the ships and the airplanes we're going to have, and the draft, and you had to buy war bonds and all this stuff that he was going to get on the radio and tell America, you've got to do this. We need these things. The story goes, he shoved the speech across the table. He said, people don't win war with things, they win war with why. Any big accomplishment in the human experience, there's a big why behind it. So he got on the radio. He said, why we're going to war is because We want to protect freedom of speech. By the way, you see this little guy that's speaking? He was one farmer that was speaking against building a new school in their community. Norman Rockwell was at the meeting, and he was quite impressed that this guy would stand up and everybody else wanted the school. He was even more impressed, if you read some of Norman Rockwell, very interesting person, he was even more impressed that the people around him didn't call him names or cuss at him or demean him. Thank God. You see what's going on today in our society. And he said, we are going to fight for freedom of conscience, of religion, and we're going to stand up for that. Sure, they're going to build guns and all that later, but the big why was, we believe in these. Look at this picture at Thanksgiving. Freedom from want. We're going to make sure the human person has what they need. Now, that isn't like my Thanksgiving, Beth, is it? We kind of have water spilling. One of the uncles drinks too much beer, whatever. There's all sorts of going on with this mammoth family. Of course, it's about 3,000 feet long table, but it is idyllic anyway. Doesn't it look nice? And he said, we're going to fight for freedom from fear. Our children should not worry about being taken over. And that's still a case in our country sometimes, that freedom from fear needs to come within, that I won't have a future, I'll be hurt. I bring this point is people accomplish great things when the why is clear, compelling. And that's what we're about at Marian University. You can take Norman away. They can find those pictures later. So, our next big move in building this great Catholic university in this great American city is we feel compelled to build another great university with R1 research capacity, to bring the talent and the innovation and the fixes of healthcare and education to this city and state. Where does that come from? Where does that why draw of? I'll take it way back to 1968. Our Mayor Lugar, a man that served with great vision and integrity, told this city, and a lot of people argued with him, you need to have big research universities in this city. And they said, no, there's one in Lafayette, and there's one at South Bend, and there's one we can't afford it, we can't do it, it's too hard. He kept pushing. Started IUPUI, now we have Purdue and IU and Marian emerging in R2 school now. Our research agenda, scholarly agenda is exploding, and it'll continue. We're looking for partners. The mayor planted the seed and would not quit. Another interesting that we draw from, in the early 60s, the church called Vatican Council together to challenge the church to be less inward-looking and more outward-looking. Our Archbishop, who I greatly admire and have been a big supporter, understands that he often uses the word is that we are an encounter university. We have people of every kind of religion, and we have a lot of nones, not the kind you think, N-O-N-Es, no religion. They haven't been brought up that way. Where the church needs to be out encountering the world. And John the 23rd exhorted the leaders at the meeting. He said, folks, leaders, God did not put us on this earth to protect and guard a museum. He put us on this earth to cultivate a flourishing garden of life. That's what a Catholic university needs to be about. That's got to be our contribution to this city, state, and beyond. Pope John Paul II, Saint, wrote a beautiful paper called Excorde Ecclesiae, and if you know your Latin's from the heart of the church. And in there he said, the Catholic universities are a treasure to the church because they offer excellent education. The Catholic Church started the universities in Europe. It's a big part of our tradition. The Catholic University forms a community of scholars that explore new knowledge and teach and expand horizons and serve the people. A Catholic university is a university that changes the culture so that the human person can grow and more apt to flourish. A Catholic university is a place, and gosh, we need this, where you can have lively dialogue between faith and reason, people of different opinions. He wasn't saying that every opinion's good. Matter of fact, there's some bad ideas out there. But the person's not bad, and you don't attack, and you sure as heck don't shoot them. A Catholic, yes, that's exactly right. A Catholic university is a place where the dignity of the individual can always be maintained, even when there's different views at play. That's our special calling. A Catholic university should teach in our theology departments and witness the faith by what they do. And a Catholic university, St. John Paul II said, should always read the signs of the time, see where the big need is, and take that intellectual power and insight to make a difference where the biggest needs are. And I don't mean to brag, but in our neighborhood, we had grade schools where less than half the children could read at level in third grade. Now, you please tell me how, as a community, we can sit and watch that happen and not do something about it. Because you're basically saying to those kids, you aren't having a future. This last 2 years, Lilly Endowment supported, the state supported. We have excellent professors. Our CLIPS Educators College went in these schools. 30 and 35% and triple the number of children passing those tests. They have a future. Catholic University, read the signs of the times and go where we're needed. And that's what we're doing in healthcare and education to cultivate a flourishing garden of life right here in partnership with other universities, business, schools, and certainly our wonderful healthcare partners. I will close with this. John Kennedy, he was a great orator, but he had great speechwriters. If you want to study a speech maker, that's one. There were people behind him that were really good. A speech he doesn't get a lot of attention for, I don't know if any of you have seen it. It's the speech he made 1 week before he was inaugurated in 1961, right? It's January. It's kind of like his farewell to Massachusetts, I'm going to D.C. speech. He had the legislature there and everybody in the room. And he started off this speech, it comes out of the gospel, about the city on the hill, a place set apart. Ronald Reagan used that a lot too, and that's a good image, and it comes out of our scripture. And he said, our founding pilgrims, etc., they would talk about that was America going to be. America was going to be this place set apart, a light for the rest of the world. And then John Kennedy went into this thing like, it is a privilege, and I feel this, Beth and I and our family and our board, it's a hard job to lead a university. It's not as hard with good people like you supporting us, but the fact of the matter is it's a challenge, but it's a tremendous privilege. And I know Mung and Peter and Brendan, you would all agree. It's a great privilege. But for that privilege and who much has been given, like you all have, I talk about these magnanimous gifts and $100 gifts, everything in between. We've had record fundraising at Marian, nothing like it ever before, ever imaginable. We take that responsibility. It's a tremendous, tremendous responsibility. And to whom much is given, much is required, was John Kennedy's opening remark. And he said, you get a chance to lead. You get a chance with your life to do good. And here's the thing. The great judge of history will ask 4 questions about your time with that responsibility and opportunity. And when I read this speech, and then you can get a grainy copy of it. They actually filmed it, of course, it's black and white. I didn't know that. I was reading through these speeches. He stood up there just eloquently, and he didn't read this. I noticed he looked right at the legislature. The High Court of History will ask 4 questions about our time in service. Were we courageous? Now, my board wonders sometimes if I have a poorly developed sense of fear. I call it courage. We have Steve Hackman, I can hear you laughing. So we have this courage to venture that we receive from the sisters. They never quit. When you have a calling, you don't quit. He said the second High Court of History question they'll ask, did we act with good judgment? The third question they will ask, did you act with integrity? Is what you said, what you actually did, and do it well. Did you use your power for the rent seekers to get a better deal, or to help your friends get a better deal, or some other agenda? Or did you really live up to your calling? I think that's a big question in every organization today. The fourth question, he said, the High Court of History will ask, were you committed? And I just say this. The last few years, we've raised $330 million, 350, something like that. I don't know. Once you get up that high, you just keep putting it into students and doing good things. People would have said, Dan, you can't do that. There's a deep why at Marian. There's this deep why. We want to cultivate this flourishing garden of life, and we want to make sure that everybody gets to grow their crop and gets to bloom and make a difference. It's not just for some. In the church's view, everybody's made in the image and likeness of God. It matters not the color of your skin, where you're from, how much money your parents had. That does not matter to us. We see inestimable worth, and I will guarantee you this, with your funds, your support, your prayers, your involvement, when the High Court of History judges our time in building this great R1 Catholic University in this great American city, they will say about you, they will say about our board, they will say about all of us, they were courageous, they were judicious, they always served with integrity, and don't get in their way because they are committed. I want to really thank you very, very much for being here and make it possible for us to have that vision and why so deeply seared in our heart and mind, and to see the tremendous success we have had and where we're going with other educational partners, our healthcare friends, our K-12 friends. Will make world-renowned Klipsch College right here in this city an academic medicine part of Marian University and our partner like you've never seen before. And in that, our why, to cultivate a flourishing garden of life, will come to fruition. Thank you for your investment, your friendship, and go Knights. I look like President Biden. I don't know where I'm going. Thank you. I never got a standing ovation, so